So the EV tax credit is ending at the end of September, and I want to take this opportunity to go over some of my recommended picks of used EVs that you could pick up for under $25,000 that typically qualify for the used EV tax credit. Now, I'll have the requirements of what you need to be able to qualify to be able to get the credit down in the description below, so that way you're aware, there's no surprises. But pretty much every vehicle on this list are going to be top recommended picks for things that you can pick up under $25,000 relatively easily. And I will go through pretty much every vehicle that you might be interested in picking up, at least here in the US, which if you're watching about the EV tax credit, that's why you're here. So yeah, let's just get right into it. If you are new here, my name is Arnell. This is Range Anxiety, where I talk about EVs, EV news, and EV ownership as somebody that owns 2 EVs. So if that is something that you're interested in, make sure you subscribe, because I love talking about EVs and I could talk about them all day. So I love talking about all the cool nuances and frustrations and challenges that you can find with EVs, so make sure you subscribe for more videos like this. Now I'm going to go over 5 sort of vehicles that you can pick up that qualify for the used EV tax credit. The reason I say 5 is because this first sort of row here, or this first sort of level of vehicles that I'm going to talk about, are multiple vehicles. Going to be some of your older EVs that you might be interested, you maybe didn't even realize were ever created, and so it might be something that you might want to pick up, and they're typically going to be the cheapest options on this list. They're usually going to be readily available, so let's kind of get into it. So this first level here, this first option, is going to be a couple of different options that are here in this list. These are going to be your older vehicles that were at the start of EV manufacturing, or at the very early stages of it. So you're not going to find, really fast charging speeds. You're not going to find really high range. This is really for people that, live in the city, or maybe you have a very small commute. You mainly charge at home. You don't have to rely on public infrastructure very much. And you're okay with not getting some of the newest features that are out with some of the newer EVs that you'll find later on in this list. So this first little level here is going to be what I typically like to call sort of your compliance EVs. So these are from manufacturers that have basically taken a gas, traditional combustion vehicle, and they've ripped the gas engine out and the transmission and plopped in a battery and some electric motors to make it an EV. So it's not designed from the ground up as an EV, and that, can kind of come with its pros and cons. Pros, it's cheaper generally, but cons, it's not as well thought out as a ground up EV would be. So let's just kind of get into it. So the first in this little list here is going to be the Kia Soul EV. You might not have even known that there was a Kia Soul EV, but that is an option. It's not going to have terribly large range. I think maybe 100 miles range when it was new. So obviously degraded is going to be much less. That's an option. Another one that's sort of in this sort of compliance, sort of area here is the Hyundai Kona EV, the original, first generation. Also, the Kia Niro EV is a similar one. The Hyundai Ioniq, the original Hyundai Ioniq. Now Ioniq has kind of split off to become the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6. But the original Hyundai Ioniq is actually the most fuel efficient EV that's out there, or at least it was the most fuel efficient hybrid at the time that it was created. So pretty cool thing there. It's a very efficient vehicle, pretty spacious as well, given its size. And some other ones would be like the BMW i3. Now that's one that I'm personally very interested in. I have not owned one, but that's one that to me, it just looks cool. And I really love the sort of the flat rear end of it. It's a really cool sort of vehicle. It's way too small for my family of 4. But yeah, I mean, it's a really cool vehicle. So some of these also have gas range extenders in there as well, like the BMW i3 does have a range extender to basically have, it's an EV from the ground up, but it does have a gasoline engine in there sort of as a generator to help extend your range. So that way you might have very small range of maybe 60 to 80 miles on a full charge, but then you have the gas motor that basically acts sort of as a hybrid, not really, because the gas engine isn't actually driving the wheels, but anyways, we're kind of getting into the nerdy details of it. But yeah, so these are sort of all of your sort of compliance vehicles. Also, the Volkswagen e-Golf is a great honorable mention in this list as well. It's basically taking a regular gas Golf, which looks phenomenal. It's probably the best looking one in this sort of list of compliance EVs. But it basically just has, of course, the engine and the transmission ripped out, and you have your EV components plopped right in. So, pretty interesting vehicle from that aspect. But that's going to do it for the sort of compliance list of vehicles here. There might be some other ones that I might be forgetting, but these are going to be ones that you can pretty readily find, and you're usually going to find these for maybe, 8 to 12,000, for a really nice one. So you're very easily going to be able to take care of that used EV tax credit. It might even be so inexpensive that you might not be able to get the full 4,000, because it's basically a percentage of the sale price of the vehicle up to $4,000. So basically, you figure you get an $8,000 EV, plop 4,000 off. Now you have a $4,000 vehicle that you could pretty easily pick up cash or financing a very small amount. So, great options there. Now, the next on this list is going to be on the total opposite end. So this is one where you should be able to find these pretty easily for under 25,000, but they're going to be definitely kind of pushing that upper limit there, and that's going to be the Audi E-Tron. This is a vehicle that I am very interested in because it is the first generation of the e-tron. It's Audi's first foray, really, into mass market EVs. And they did a phenomenal job with the e-tron. So with the e-tron, you're going to find a really great charging curve. Basically, it's going to hold its peak power all the way up to like 80-85%. So it makes it a great road tripper. It does maybe 150 kilowatts, I think. So it's not going to be super blazing fast speed, but it's going to hold that peak for a very long time, which is great because some cars will shoot up to their peak of 250 kilowatts or 300 kilowatts and basically just hold that for maybe 10-20%, and then it's just going to dramatically fall off a cliff. And so your charge time with the e-tron, even though it doesn't have amazing charging speeds, might end up being a little bit faster than some of your other EVs that you might be looking at. But again, I want to try to not get too deep into the weeds on the nerdy stuff here. But the e-tron is just going to be great. It's you're going to be very hard pressed to find a more luxurious vehicle in this sort of class of vehicles here. So, if you get the Prestige, you're going to get massaging seats, heated and cooled seats. You're going to have a beautiful moonroof above you, or sunroof, moonroof, sunroof. I don't know the difference. You're going to have really awesome Audi lighting signatures going on from the front and the rear. Just really awesome, beautiful German engineering that you're going to find, where the door handles just feel really strong and high quality, all the metal touch points, all the different fit and finishes. You're going to find a really good high quality vehicle in the e-tron. So that is a great one that I would recommend that you look into. And of course, with it being an electric vehicle, and the same with pretty much every vehicle on this list, it's going to be far more reliable than the gas counterparts. So that honestly is a plus for me, where I would feel more comfortable buying an older e-tron that might have some higher miles, around 60 to 80,000 miles. And while it might not be perfect reliability, it's going to be far more reliable than a $60 to $80,000 or 60 to 80,000 mile, gas e-tron or a gas Audi that might be out there. So just some things to kind of think about as you're kind of thinking about that, because some people hear Audi and they immediately think high maintenance costs, and sure, the maintenance costs on the electrical drivetrain can be expensive, but generally speaking, you're probably going to be able to find a newer e-tron in 2020. They were 2019 to about 2024 is when the e-tron and the Q8 e-tron were in production. And the newer ones, 2022 and up, are still going to have their, basic warranty from Audi directly. So if you can find a 2022 and newer, at least currently at this point, then you're going to be able to take advantage of that warranty. Plus, you have that extended battery and drivetrain warranty that's going to go past the initial, 3-year warranty that's out there. So really awesome things to kind of look at there. And it really helps to have that comfort of knowing that you're going to have a nice warranty with your newer Audi. So yeah, really awesome options there. The next one is going to be what I personally drive right now, and that's going to be the Nissan Leaf. Now, the Nissan Leaf I didn't include in the first section where I was talking about compliance EVs because it sort of is one. I mean, it shares a lot of things from like the Nissan Versa hatchback and different things like that. But honestly, the Leaf was from the ground up, from its first generation, was built as its own thing. Sure, it shares a lot of components with other Nissans that are out there, but it's not a purely just compliance vehicle. It's not literally just a Nissan Versa, taking out the drivetrain and throwing in an EV drivetrain. Okay, so they've put some thought into it. Now, it's one of the biggest drawbacks that you're going to find with a Leaf is the CHAdeMO charging. So if you're somebody that needs to do public fast charging and you rely on that infrastructure, maybe you don't have a charger at home, maybe you live in an apartment or a condo or a townhouse where you don't have a charger at home and you have to rely on public charging, then the Leaf isn't the one that I would recommend you to pick up unless you have, public charging at work or something like that, where you can do a bulk of your charging at a place that you will spend a lot of time at. So, but besides that, if you have a small commute, because the range, especially with the smaller batteries, like the 150-mile range battery, can have smaller range there. So if you have a smaller commute and you can pretty reliably charge at home or at work, and you don't go on road trips very often, because even if you find a public charging station that takes CHAdeMO, for one, it's going to take a long time to charge from, nearly dead to 100. And it's also not the best road tripper because it doesn't have active thermal management. So basically you can maybe only get about 1 to 2 fast charges per road trip, or per leg, and then you have to let it rest for a while so that it helps to cool down the battery just ambient temperature wise. So it's not the most advanced technology out there, but you are going to be able to very easily find a Leaf out there, and it's going to be extremely reliable. Nissan Leafs, even the first generation, with all of its degradation, after they got some of the initial bugs kind of ironed out in the initial first generation within the first couple of years, it's extremely rock solid reliable, and it's extremely efficient. I am very easily getting over 4 kilowatt hours or 4 miles per kilowatt hour with my Leaf, and I am not babying it. I don't have it on eco mode. I am just driving it in regular standard mode because I like the little bit of faster acceleration there. It's nothing too crazy, and I don't baby it, and it's rock solid. So yeah, that's a great option to potentially consider there. Now, next on this list is going to be the Chevy Bolt. So there are actually 2 Chevy Bolts: the standard Chevy Bolt, which is just your regular sort of hatchback, and then you have the Chevy Bolt EUV. Now, the EUVs, depending on your market, you can probably find them usually under the $25,000 mark, and the Chevy Bolt regular hatchback, you can very easily find those under the $25,000 mark. They didn't, originally retail for much more than $25,000 when they were brand new, if you consider the, $7,500 tax credit when they were brand new and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, the Bolt is a great option to look at. That's something that I was personally considering getting between the Bolt and the Leaf. Personally, I like the Leaf's styling a little bit more. It just looks a little bit more traditional. It doesn't look as sort of, I don't know, just kind of the body lines of the Bolt aren't my favorite. But anyways, this isn't really a design video. The Bolt is just a functionally great vehicle. You're going to be able to do CCS charging, so you're going to be able to go to Electrify America, EVgo, all these different ones that primarily do CCS, at least at the time of this recording. We are switching over to the North American charging standard in the very near future. We're already kind of there, and new vehicles are being manufactured with that. So CCS is starting to kind of get phased out a little bit, but the Chevy Bolt is still going to be a very relevant vehicle for quite a while. And there was a new generation Chevy Bolt coming out. Now, the original Chevy Bolt did have a lot of battery issues. Now, statistically, I think it was maybe like 3 or 5%. Don't quote me on that. But it was enough of a concern where batteries were just, either blowing up or just catching on fire. it was enough of a concern that whatever the percentage was, however small it was, it doesn't matter. That's a big concern. And so Chevy basically recalled every single original Bolt, replaced all of the batteries for free. And so now, usually, every Bolt that you can pick up is going to have that much more reliable battery chemistry and much more, properly built battery. So that's something to consider if you can get the Carfax. And I don't know if it shows on Carfax, but if you can check the vehicle history, if you're considering getting a Bolt, just make sure that the battery has been replaced. But yeah, anyways, besides that, you're going to have a pretty spacious interior given its size, and it is a little bit larger and roomier than the Leaf. So if you need something that's a little bit bigger, then the Bolt is something to look at. The Bolt EUV is going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to have a little bit better styling. Now, in my opinion, for a safety reasons, this is like a design safety thing. So I'll touch on design for just a very brief second, but the reason I'm doing that is because of safety. I am not a big fan of the split rear taillight situation going on where you have your brake lights down below, or you have something where you don't have all of your brake lights, your regular rear lights, and your reverse lights and turn signals all in the same sort of module at the top. You have some things at the top and then some things at the bottom, and I think it's very foolish and very silly. I also really am not a big fan of the reverse lights just being on when you park your car and you get out. It's the silliest thing. Every time we drive by a GM vehicle, whether it's Chevy, Buick, GMC, in a parking lot, and somebody just gets out, everybody's like pausing, waiting, seeing if they're going to back out. It's very silly, even though the brake lights aren't on, but just the fact that the reverse lights, it's a very silly, weird, nuanced thing. But from a safety aesthetic, I don't think that it makes sense to have your split lights there. So if you're somebody that does a lot of city driving where you're very up close to other people, that might not be the best option, because if somebody's right behind you, they might not be able to see. It's either your brake lights or your turn signals come on, because they're all the way at the bottom of the bumper. And so that's just a very, very poor design decision. Sure, it like looks cool, from far away, just parked somewhere, but actually functionally using it, it's not that safe in my opinion. So that was another reason why I kind of just decided to not look at that. But anyways, enough about the Chevy Bolt. Now, this next one is kind of obvious, but I wanted to wait until the end because not everyone is a fan of this particular brand or this particular vehicle, and so I just wanted to kind of wait until the end. Now, if all of these other ones have interested you, then definitely check out your conglomerate websites, so your Car Gurus, your True Car, Carfax, cars.com. So all of these, Auto Trader, all of these other websites that basically do a polling of, different Chevy dealerships, Nissan dealerships, all these different dealerships that might be around you, and they basically give you all of the used car listings, most of the used car listings that work with these websites, all in one place. Another great option is going to Carvana, where you can just order it online, and a couple days later it shows up in your driveway. You can trade in your old car to get this one, and it's all sort of a new, smooth process there. So these are, great options to kind of consider. Now, this last vehicle here is going to be a few vehicles, but it's all from one brand, and that's going to be obviously Tesla. So I wanted to wait until the end because some people are not fans of Tesla for whatever the reason might be. Maybe you have a negative impression of Tesla because they were one of the first EVs, not the first, one of the first EVs to do mass market EVs that were out there. And so there were some initial bugs with the batteries didn't do as well with, salt water or different things like that. Or, batteries were catching on fire, or just different weird software bugs, or different fit and finish things going on with the build quality. So you might have a negative impression on that. You might have a negative perception on the political aspect of, with Elon Musk and everything like that. So whatever your reasoning might be, that's fine. I don't care. I'm not here to sell you a vehicle. I'm here to just let you know what your options are out there. And I will say, as somebody that does admittedly own a Tesla Model Y, I will say that no other company, especially no other company on this list, does software as good as Tesla. They have nailed it down, and that obviously comes with years of experience. Tesla is far ahead on the manufacturing and the R&D of different EV components than these other vehicles. So you're going to find that the Tesla is going to have fantastic software in terms of all of the options that you can, the different things that you can configure in the vehicle, the just well thought out design aspect of you get in the vehicle, you don't have to press a start button, you don't have to, do things that you would traditionally do with older combustion vehicles, and you have, proper sort of EV design logic. So you get in the vehicle, the car knows that you are in the vehicle, that you're ready to drive, because the key, whatever the key might be, whether it's a phone key or a key fob or a key card, is inside the vehicle. You put your foot on the brake and you shift into whatever gear that you want to go into, and you're just good to go. So there's a lot of sort of EV ground up mentality that's in there that really make it a functional vehicle. I mean, the storage as well, you're going to have your frunk, you're going to have your large trunk in most models, you're going to have a sub trunk in most models, or all models, honestly. And you're just going to have a really good, no center tunnel down the back row there, to where it's just going to be a flat floor that you can just easily kind of move across the car. So you're going to have really good design logic there. So there's different vehicles that you can pick up. They are starting to get used up pretty quick. A lot of people are actually buying a lot of Teslas. If you just go to Tesla's site right now, I think the cheapest Model 3 that you can buy, at least in my area, at least in the surrounding states, but I think it does do a search over the whole United States, is going to be like 22,000, I think, like that, without the EV tax credit applied. So it is going to be up there, whereas about 2-3 months ago, before the recent bill was passed, you could pretty easily find one online for about 17 to 18,000 before the tax credit, and then that $18,000 vehicle is all of a sudden a $14,000 vehicle. And that's getting it directly from Tesla. So there's, different things like that. You might have a great deal on a local dealer near you, or Carvana might have some really good ones. Carvana seems to kind of be around the same price as Tesla's website right now, because again, a lot of people are trying to use up the EV tax credit before it's gone. So lots of things to look at there, but you're going to be able to find Model 3s pretty easily under 25,000, even though they are starting to get used up. And when I say used up, I mean, you're not going to be able to find them as cheap as, 18, 20,000. Maybe now they're starting to start at 22, 23,000. So it is starting to get up to the ceiling there. But the Model 3 you're going to be able to find. Model Y you can occasionally find on Tesla's website. Local dealers might have some Model Ys that are right under 25,000. But Model Ys are going to be like, if you see one that fits, that's under 25,000 and qualifies for the tax credit, scoop that up quick, because it's going to be gone. You'll be able to find some older Model S's as well. Now, the Model S is a little bit of a catch-22, because it's going to be a larger vehicle. It's going to have nicer styling, in my opinion, at least the 2016 and newer Model S's. But on some of the older Model S's, you're not going to have autopilot, or at least you're not going to have the sort of side cameras for the rear view, and you're not going to have the blind spot cameras that pop up. So you're going to have some of those sort of limitations there. Obviously, it's going to be an older vehicle if it's a Model S, like a 2014, 2015. So, the styling might not be as new and refreshed. And the battery, might have degraded a bit to where the range might not be as good, especially if you're getting like a 75, Model S 75D or something like that. So you're going to have some things that you want to look at. So if you see a Model S, do some research on it, see if that's something that you are wanting to get into. It's going to be older, so it's not going to have as faster of a processor. It's not going to be able to do all the same things that you could pretty easily do with any Model 3 or any Model Y that you're able to find. So in my opinion, a Model 3 would be better to get versus a much older Model S, only because of all the software and the performance improvements that you're able to get, even with just the regular Model 3's Intel processor versus the AMD processor on the newer 2022s and newer. So you join me much later on. I am editing the video right now, and I realized that the ending actually got the file got corrupted or something happened. So I am just re-recording this ending here. I'll keep it very brief, but I appreciate you watching this list of EVs that I recommend that are under 25,000 that qualify for this EV tax credit before it is gone. Now, if there's any EVs that I missed, please let me know down below whether they qualify or not, because at the end of the day, all that we really care about is getting good, reliable, and affordable EVs that we will enjoy. So let me know if there's any that I missed that are your favorite. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to know more information on why we specifically chose the Model Y for our family to use the EV tax credit, definitely check out this video right here. Or if you want to see more in-depth thoughts of somebody that owns a Nissan Leaf and is willing to praise it when it is good and willing to give it really harsh criticism when it is due as well, definitely check out this video right here. I'll catch you in either one of these videos. Peace.